You have another kind of historical record to remember. Prominent opposition leaders have talked about a coalition government at the center after the elections of 1984. They learn nothing and forget nothing. But the people who make revolutions learn from history, in this case, the history of 1977 to 79. What did that hodgepodge coalition do? Its leaders spent all their time quarreling and accusing each other of all conceivable political sins. They bade goodbye to planning and to social and economic development. They encouraged divisive forces. Their reckless economic policies plunged the country into a disastrous bout of inflation. They depleted their food grain reserves and foreign exchange savings. They brought down the prestige of India in the world. India ceased to count as a force for peace, disarmament, and development. Can you entrust the future of our India to such a motley crowd of parties and groups at a time when we face external and internal dangers of grave proportions?
पिछले साल हमने गन्ने की कीमत बढ़ा दी है। काय के लिए बढ़ाई है? मान लीजिए हम नहीं बढ़ाते और कहते कि हम 2 रुपए में 1 किलो देना चाहते हैं, तो देते रहिए, किसान तो बंद कर देगा अपनी खेती, वो कर नहीं सकेगा, और बाहर से मंगाते रहिए। जैसे हमारे ग्रीन रेवोल्यूशन से पहले होता था, भीख मांगते फिरते थे एक एक जगह, कोई देने को तैयार नहीं था, और बड़े बड़े विशेषज्ञ, इतने विशेषज्ञ के पूछना नहीं है, अमेरिका के, इंग्लैंड के, हर देश के ये कहते थे कि हिंदुस्तान कभी खुद मुक्तकी हो ही नहीं सकता, आप आत्मनिर्भर हो ही नहीं सकते अनाज के मामले में। हमने करके दिखाया, किसानों ने करके दिखाया, उसमें मेरी हाथ कुछ नहीं है, किसानों ने करके दिखाया।
यहाँ के लोग हैं, ठीक है, हमारे भाई हैं, उनका रोजगार चाहिए, अब वहां से यहाँ आ जाएंगे तो यहाँ के लोगों का क्या होगा? तो इसलिए ये रोकने की आवश्यकता है, ये रोकने की हमारी पूरी कोशिश है। इसके बावजूद लोग आ जाते हैं। अब उसे कोई रोक सकता है कि अपना घर छोड़ के, बाहर छोड़ के, भाइयों को छोड़ के, बंधुओं को छोड़ के शहर में जाके पेट पालने की जरूरत उसे न रहे।
ఈ దేశంలో ఇన్ని ఎన్నికలు వచ్చినాయి, మీరు బాగా ఆలోచించండి, దీర్ఘంగా ఆలోచించండి। ప్రజలు 2 విధాలు ఓటు చేశారు। చేస్తే కాంగ్రెస్ కు ఓటు చేశారు అనుకూలంగా, కాంగ్రెస్ మీద కోపం వచ్చినాడు, కాంగ్రెస్ కు వ్యతిరేకంగా ఓటు చేశారు। కాంగ్రెస్ కు వ్యతిరేకంగా వేసినటువంటి ఓటు ఫలానా మనిషికని కానీ, ఫలానా పార్టీకని కానీ కొట్టు పెట్టి ఒక మనిషిని నిలబెట్టి కాదు। ఒకప్పుడు పీడీఎఫ్ అంటూ చేశారు, ఒకప్పుడు నేషనల్ కాన్ఫరెన్స్ అంటూ చేశారు, ఒకప్పుడు ఇండిపెండెంట్ గా చేసేశారు। ఇండిపెండెంట్ గా పార్టీలు ఏమైనా ఉన్నాయా? స్వతంత్రంగా వచ్చినటువంటి మనిషి చేసేది ఏమైనా ఉంటుందా? దాన్ని గురించి ఆలోచించలేదు. ఎందుకైనా సరే ఈ కాంగ్రెస్ ను ఓడించాలనే కోపాన ఎవడికి పడితే వాడికి పడేశారు. ఇది జరుగుతూ వచ్చింది. కొన్ని చోట్లలో, కొన్ని పాకెట్స్ లో కమ్యూనిస్ట్ పార్టీలు కానీ, జనసంఘం వారు కానీ, ఇతరులు కానీ వాళ్లకు బలం లేదని నేను చెప్పడం లేదు. ఆ బలం ఉన్న పాకెట్లు ఎన్ని? ఆ బలం ఉన్న పాకెట్లు అన్నింటినీ లెక్క వేస్తే బీజేపీకి 30-40 కన్నా ఎక్కువ రాకూడదు పార్లమెంట్ లో. ఏ కమ్యూనిస్ట్ పార్టీలక 30-40 దాటితే దాటొచ్చు, ఎందుకంటే అక్కడ ఒక వెస్ట్ బెంగాల్ అంటూ ఉంది కాబట్టి 40 దాటొచ్చు, కానీ అంతకన్నా ఎక్కువ దాటడానికి లేదు. న్యాయం అయితే ఎవరి రాజకీయ బలం ఎంత ఉంది అని శక్తి అంచనా వేసుకుని చూసుకుంటే ఇంతకన్నా లేదు. తక్కిందంతా కాంగ్రెస్ కు రావాల్సిందే. ఈనాడు జనతా దళ్ అని పెట్టుకున్నటువంటి వారు, అందులో ఉన్న వాళ్ళంతా ఒకప్పుడు కాంగ్రెస్ వారే. మీరు ఏ లెక్కన చూసినా ఇంతవరకు ప్రధానమంత్రులు భారతదేశంలో అయిన వాళ్ళు అందరూ కాంగ్రెస్ వారే. ఎప్పుడో ఒకసారి కాంగ్రెస్ లో ఉన్నవారే. చరణ్ సింగ్ గారైనా అంతే, చంద్రశేఖర్ అయినా అంతే, విపి సింగ్ అయితే నా పక్కనే కూర్చుండేవాడు. అందుకని ఏదో కాంగ్రెసేతర రాజ్యాలు కానీ, కాంగ్రెసేతర ప్రభుత్వాలు కానీ, కాంగ్రెసేతర నేతృత్వం కానీ, కాంగ్రెసేతర నాయకత్వం కానీ ఇక్కడ ఏదో బ్రహ్మాండంగా వికసించిపోయిందని మనం అనుకోవడం, బలపడిపోయిందని అనుకోవడం పొరపాటు. కాంగ్రెస్ వారే వాళ్లకు ఉప్పు పాలు పోసి పెంచడం జరిగింది. కాంగ్రెస్ వారి లోపాల మూలాన్నే వాళ్ళు బలపడడం జరిగింది. కానీ కాంగ్రెస్ వాళ్ళు మాత్రం నేర్చుకోలేదు. ఇప్పుడు నేర్చుకోవాల్సి
सरकार को अपने साधनों के भीतर रहना सीखना है। आटा नहीं होगा तो रोटी कहाँ से बनेगी? ये एक ऐसी चीज़ है जो हर गृहिणी जानती है, और देश को भी ये जान लेना है, समझ लेना है कि हम बहुत ज़्यादा पसारेंगे अपना पाँव और चादर से आगे पाँव बढ़ जाएगा तो चादर आपको ढक नहीं सकती। कर्ज लेते हैं किसी टिकाऊ संपत्ति को जुटाने के लिए। रोज़मर्रा अपनी ज़रूरतों को पूरा करने के लिए जब हम कर्ज लेने लगते हैं तो फिर हमारी आर्थिक व्यवस्था एकदम बिगड़ जाती है। इसीलिए ये आवश्यक है कि कर्ज लेते वक्त हम अच्छी तरह सोचें कि कर्ज लेकर उस पैसे से हम क्या करेंगे। जब हम सत्ता में आए तो देश एक अभूतपूर्व आर्थिक संकट से गुज़र रहा था, और इस ख़तरनाक बीमारी को दूर करने की आवश्यकता थी। जब ख़तरनाक बीमारी आती है तो उसके इलाज में संकोच से काम नहीं चलता। साहस बटोर कर सख्ती से इलाज करना पड़ता है, और उसके लिए जो भी कठोर कदम उठाने चाहिए उन्हें उठाना पड़ता है। आज हम यही कर रहे हैं और करते रहेंगे। इधर रिज़र्व बैंक ने रुपए का मूल्य बदला है। इसका उद्देश्य है कि देशवासियों को अपना माल विदेश में बेचने की अधिक सुविधा हो, उनको बढ़ावा मिले, और विदेशी व्यापार में हमारा जो घाटा होता आया है वो घाटा कम किया जाए, बल्कि घाटा पूरा ही हटा दिया जाए।
I don't think so. It is true that one state has more seats, another state has less, but this has never been the consideration on which prime ministers have been hailing from a particular state. It so happens that the leadership has been elected by the party, and at any given moment it so happened that the leaders that were elected came from one state.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I completely endorse the sentiments expressed by you, and I would like first of all to place on record our very deep appreciation and admiration for the manner in which you as Speaker and the Deputy Speaker and others who happen to be
the presiding members, panel of the presiding members have conducted this House, not merely conducted this House, but have actually brought some sheen, some new sheen to democracy in this country. For once, the committee system, sir, which you introduced, and I am saying this because many of us were rather skeptical about the success of that system, but the system has worked extremely well, and it augurs well that it will give us the necessary depth to the deliberations and what has been said in the deliberations. This is what the committees are for. They go into greater detail, they go into nitty-gritty and come back with reports which are very, very insightful, which we would never have had in our hands otherwise.
हमारा लक्ष्य है भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाना। ये आत्मनिर्भरता कोई कोरा नारा नहीं है। इसका अर्थ यही है कि निर्यात से आय कमाइए और उसी कमाई से आयात की ज़रूरत पूरी करिए। यह इसका सारांश है। हम दान नहीं चाहते किसी से, हम व्यापार चाहते हैं, क्योंकि मुफ्त आर्थिक सहायता जब मिलती है तो वो एक बैसाखी की तरह बन जाती है और पराधीनता उसी से बढ़ जाती है। व्यापार जब हम करते हैं तो हम आत्मनिर्भर बनते हैं, और भारत आप जानते हैं कि हजारों साल से व्यापार करता रहा।
This is NDTV and you're watching Classics.
Hello and welcome to Walk the Talk. I am Shekhar Gupta and my guest today is the insider who's been outside of action for far too long. Although, mind you, he may question that statement of mine. But even he cannot deny that he is one of the quietest politicians we've known in a very long time. Also, one of our most successful, former Prime Minister P.V. Narasimha Rao. Welcome to Walk the Talk. It's a rare occasion for somebody in the media to be chatting with you, particularly on camera.
This is equally rare to me.
Well, at least your sense of humor is not dented or faded by the rigors of being out of power.
No, it has not been dented by being in power.
I see. Why do you say so?
In fact, after I went out of power, maybe it has come back.
So did you lose it a little bit when you were in power?
You have to lose it. When you are in power, you have to lose many things in life.
Do you find that too much of our politics and too many of our politicians are still talking of the past? There is not enough promise of the future in our politics. You know,
Well,
either you vote against injustices of the past or you vote for glory of the past. Why is our politics frozen in the past?
Well, do you find any area where you only talk about the future?
Well, I mean, if you look at, say, an American election campaign, people are talking about what happens to our children, our grandchildren, healthcare, taxes, education. Here it's more about, you know, either a mosque and a temple, or about Gandhi and Nehru, or about Lord Ram. It's all in the past, all about Marx and Lenin. So if you see the three main streams of Indian politics, each one wants votes from today's voters on the basis of either achievements of the past or glories of the past or injustices of the past.
You see, what you promise for the future is strengthened by what you have done in the past. We have done nothing in the past and promise everything in the future. Your credibility suffers.
Right. So wouldn't you rather that our politics still talk more of the future than the past?
Because
too much in the past.
Yeah, we have more in the past, much more in the past, in our past,
Right.
than the past of the other country people you were referring to.
Right. So all this is going on right now, the talk about shining India, feel good, 8% growth. From your vantage point, how do you look at this? Does it impress you? Does it amuse you? Does it irritate you?
No, why should it irritate me? I have no need to be irritated.
when someone says India is shining, when he goes on to suggest that he is the cause for it,
Right.
there of course one will differ.
Right.
Yes.
So,
See,
so
if there is good rain, I am a farmer, I have a good harvest, there is no need for me to feel sad. It's all shining to me. But if you say you have brought the rain, then I differ. That's all.
take us back to 1991 when you took over power and the challenge that faced you. And what persuaded you to change this?
Well, persuaded because logically we had come up against a blank wall. There was nothing more to do. You see, you had no money. You were going to become a defaulter within two weeks.
Right.
And you can imagine what it means for India to become a defaulter. We have always been paying our installments of debt in advance. That has been our record. And once you become a defaulter, your entire economy, your honor, your place in the Committee of Nations, everything goes haywire, and you have really no face to show.
So you were a lifelong socialist, or you were brought up in the Nehruvian sort of milieu. When did you conclude that, look, this has to change? The world has changed. Was it in the first couple of weeks? Was it at a chat with
Nehru
Manmohan
was
Singh?
the person who said something about his not being Nehruite.
I see.
Gandhi was a person who said very strongly that I am not a Gandhiite. You see, this becoming ite becomes something frozen.
Right.
Gandhi was never static,
Right.
nor was Nehru.
Right.
Why did Nehru leave the whole of agriculture in the private sector? Not many people realize it.
And not go the way of
Yeah.
either Lenin or Ben Gurion.
Yeah, right. So he said it in so many words that if you're talking of socialism, don't misunderstand. It's not being imported from abroad. It is being evolved under our own conditions. So that should suffice as a permanent answer in favor of what really Nehru wanted to do and what we are trying to do.
So for you, it was
In that
not.
spirit.
It was not such a big instinctive shift.
Not
it
for
was
me.
not. It was not like Deng Xiaoping changing
not for
Chinese
me.
economy.
No, you have to read my presidential speech of Tirupati in 1992.
In fact, I was there at that time in Tirupati.
In fact,
it was a very
I
hot day, 50
traced
degrees,
it.
I think it was.
Yeah, I traced from Nehru to what I was doing, and no one could say that it is a sudden shift or sudden U-turn. You cannot afford U-turns in this country. You cannot.
So how do you make a U-turn without making a U-turn? That's a special Narasimha Rao art.
No, it's not like that. It's not like that. If you understand that where you were standing is itself in motion,
That's a clever way of putting it.
the turning becomes easier. You are not static. That's what I have just told you.
Right.
You are not static, never static. Look at what Gandhiji has done. Look at what Panditji has done. A little more carefully.
So you had no feeling that you were leaving something behind, that a faith with which you had gone on for 40 years, you are now junking that and moving on to a new path.
Well, I didn't feel that. I thought we are only growing up.
Right.
I can't possibly make do with the clothes I wore 50 years back.
When you managed this change, shift, U-turn
We
without a
did-
U-turn,
You see, this is another difficult.
did you have to deal with many doubts?
No, I don't think I managed it. It was an objective situation which had its own impact, it had its own momentum. It was created. Dr. Manmohan Singh did his very best to push it forward. Behind him, I stood like a rock, giving him political support through thick and thin. So this is the kind of, teamwork.
In fact, Dr.
which we did.
Manmohan Singh said on this show, he described how he quietly devalued the rupee. He went to RBI governor
Quite
because he
right.
had not got the vote of confidence. And in fact, you told him that if it goes all right, it's fine. If it goes wrong, then you may pay for it with your job.
No, I didn't quite tell him that, because we may also have to pay for it, because it's not just the finance minister, it is the duo, the prime minister giving him the political wherewithal, the armor which he needs,
Right.
and the finance minister being an expert in the job, in which I don't interfere unless I find that from the people there will be something like a backlash. Then of course I have to warn him, and he takes the warning and takes into consideration that warning.
There were occasions when you pulled him back, as on the question of
Well,
subsidies.
Yeah, quite right. Quite right. You see, there are many occasions where I encouraged him. When I found him defeated, when people attacked him, I said, attack me, don't attack him. He is not a politician. Let him do his job. So there, it's a question of managing people.
Did you ever think things will change so fast in India? In 1991, could you have imagined 2004 of today?
Well, I couldn't have imagined 2004 of today. In fact, I may have imagined 2010. But I was realistic enough that without passing through 2004, you can't reach 2010.
But Mr. Rao, there are those who say, and you have critics in your own party as well, that the cases that you had to endure over the past 5 years was also a kind of a price or retaliation or punishment for hawala and things that you did to some of your own party men.
Well, I don't think so, because all this is disinformation. Historically, factually, all this is wrong. But of course, you have to be ready for allegations that are baseless, because until only you know that they are baseless, the whole world doesn't. They go by what actually happens.
On the question of allegations being baseless, so would you say that the hawala cases ultimately were also as baseless as cases against you?
Well, they are as baseless as they were found by the courts. That's all there is to it. You see, if you really go into the nitty-gritty, I don't know, again, I am getting into a field which perhaps doesn't allow me to explain myself in full. There are two fields. One is the legal field, one is the political field. There is much in common, but they are not identical. The tactics are not identical. The conclusions are not identical. The logic is not identical. Therefore, for a perspective, you will have to know both the fields and also distinguish where a politically correct decision can become legally incorrect. This is possible. I have shown it. I have seen
But
it.
you were not playing politics in the hawala cases.
Oh no.
Because
No,
there are
not
those
at
in
all.
your party who think that that was one way of sidelining many
Who?
likely challengers in
Who?
your party.
Who?
Well,
Who?
all the hawala victims say so.
Who?
All the
Including
hawala victims.
Mr. Advani?
Yes, indeed. I mean, certainly,
Oh.
certainly.
you,
Certainly he thinks that
You
you
are
were
making-
victimizing him.
you,
And
you are making me too big for my shoes. You see, I came just for 5 years in a fortuitous way, and I don't think I had developed within those 5 years all these crooked qualities, crooked characteristics. I never thought about them, and no one among those who know me has ever accused me of anything even remotely resembling what you are saying.